that cake.
If you'd like to gather around, ladies and gentlemen.
My goodness.
Boys and girls. Grandchildren. I think we'll get Maureen to cut the cake, and then the two people who have known Maureen the longest are going to speak briefly.
Briefing.
There are other people who have known Maureen not quite as long as Judy.
Thank you.
Sorry, family.
Here we go.
Dave and Sue Gaskell.
I'm just so glad that I didn't have to contribute.
Well, you can if you want to.
There we are. Oh, she's
Happy birthday, dear Maureen. Happy birthday to you. Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Thank you, everyone. And happy birthday to Sarah, too. Is it anyone else's birthday?
I'm on the 22nd of September.
We'll gather here again. So Dave Gaskell and Sue Gaskell might like to say a few brief words.
Well, if you let me speak first, then mine will be brief. I'm not sure that David understands the term brief. I would just like to say that some of my fondest memories of growing up were shared with Maureen and her family. I was bridesmaid when David and Maureen were married some 40 years ago now, and which couldn't be right because we haven't got any older at all. And even though Maureen obviously is years older than I am, we were really good mates growing up, and she sort of took me to lots of things that I hadn't really had an opportunity to see. And I remember one night we went to see Fiddler on the Roof and celebrating my end of high school certificate, and that was just such a lovely memory that I have. So over the years we've kept in contact, vague contact, sometimes close contact. Went to Tambar Springs one time, had to drive through the floods to get there, and well, we didn't realise there were floods at the time until after we got there, you know. So we've had a long association, but I don't think Maureen has changed at all. For people who have known her all her life, I just don't think she's changed at all. She's just as beautiful as she's always been, and a beautiful person as well as, you know, beautiful mother and grandmother. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
I brought pictures. So of course, we got one of Judy. That's the only one. I knew Maureen probably shortly after this. Now I always tell people I actually went to school with Maureen, but that's actually not true. Because even though we went to the same school 3 times, we actually were never at the same school. Because in those days they used to separate the guys and the girls.
Right.
Because the girls were obviously more cheeky, you know. And I went to Southern Primary School, and we were all boys class. Now the girls would have been there, but you just never saw them at all. But then we went to Hurstville Public School, which was AC classes. That's because they call the
Potential.
And it was really good because you got to do schoolwork for about 3 days a week and then muck up for 2 days a week, and they called it school. It was fantastic. And my girls' school was separated by a hedge, and you should never ever cross that hedge. But of course we all had to travel on the train to and from. We travelled from Sutherland to Hurstville and further afield, so it was always I didn't mix on the train. Now Maureen actually only lived a block or 2 away from it, so not often, but from time to time we'd even walk out from the train station, and then I'd continue to walk on a little bit further. And then when Maureen was about 16, she started coming to our youth fellowship at Sutherland. We're going to have a look at this photo later and see if we can spot the photo. Yes, Judy, you are in there too.
I haven't seen that. Neither have I.
So
I checked them as well.
It was a house party down at Rathane, and it was just one of those many great house parties. For those of you who grew up in Fellowship, it was just a great time, and this was probably one of the first house parties that Maureen might have gone on. And it was just a terrific time. Came to the Lord many times in places like house parties. Now, as Maureen also went to a school which was adjacent to ours, which was Janelli Girls High School, and actually got the Janelli crest. Now, for years they used to say Janelli girls and boys will combine. For years they told us that, didn't they? It never happened. While we were there. However, Maureen was in the ICF group in the girls' school, and I was in the ICF group in the boys' school. And so we used to do a lot of things combined. And we had a very popular ICF. And I used to have to go over there from time to time to check with their committee about things. And the headmaster actually gave me a note that said that David Gaskell can go over to the high school anytime he's required. And so I would often go over there, and as you walk through the girls' school, everyone would be sort of, oh, there's a boy. And there were sensible girls at the school, like Maureen, always sensible, always, and there were other girls anyway, year 12 came, and I think we did a good part of it. This was a photo of a 1959 Volkswagen. Now, they didn't have seatbelt laws in those days, or how many people you can stuff in the back of a Volkswagen law. But while I was in year 12, for most of the time, I drove Maureen and Judy and countless other people to and from school. And of course, you never went home straight from school. We would stop off at people's places for coffee and all sorts of things. And so it was a good time. I do recall one time waiting for about 7 minutes while Maureen and I sat in the car waiting for Hey Jude to finish on the radio. I never realised what a long time it was. But of course,
You didn't mind.
after Maureen travelling around in a Volkswagen for at least a year, she then went and bought the opposition. For those of you who were around at the time, this was a Mini, and we drove that for a long time. And it was only after she finished, she got it after she finished Teachers College.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I could drive to St Mary's from
Yeah.
somewhere.
And she would live over there during Monday to Friday, I think, and then come back home on the weekend so that she could be with church and a friend. So it was a chance to live away from home but stay there. But all the time that she was in church, in fellowship, she probably can't remember this one either. This was actually taken at Janelli house party. My honest memories of the Lord is to see behind the car singing, or just singing in groups. It's a skill that the Lord gave me, but she has it in abundance, and the musical attributes have played through her family. And I remember seeing her in a group.
Vineyard Club. That was not the Graham Steele one, there was one before that. Soul Inspiration.
Soul Inspiration,
Graham
yeah. It was a
Steele
real,
one. And
it was a
Martin
real
one.
60s sort of group with,
It had to be, it was the 60s.
No, it couldn't have been then.
and Maureen would sit there and she would smile out at the audience and look at everyone, but she took her glasses off, and so she couldn't see any more about 3 feet in front of her. And people saying, oh, she was smiling at me. Oh, no, she wasn't. And then, of course, was probably the most famous photo of Maureen and David, taken on a blistery, freezing cold July, probably, something like that, day down at Cronulla Beach with she came back after being away at Tasmania on a 6-day walking trip to Cradle Mountain.
Something David makes up the story as he goes along.
And she showed us this photo of this hunk guy, and all we saw was a badly lit back silhouette of a tall fellow with a hat on standing in the doorway. And she said, oh, this is the one. I'm thinking, how can you tell? Now, my youngest daughter was married 2 weeks ago, and I actually blamed Maureen for that wedding. Because they met, my daughter and her now husband met, and wanted to have a reasonably short engagement and then get married. And I said, this is just not on, you've got to have a long engagement. They said, yeah, but David and Maureen, and so you got quoted. And indeed it's been terrific that even though they did only have a short engagement, clearly the marriage has worked. And,
I know, their marriage.
Oh,
Yes.
and you know, the fact that many friends for many years could come and enjoy and celebrate Maureen's entire life, and her grandmotherhood and the motherhood and her sisterhood and, you know, and her childhood as I can remember it. So, I think it's done well.
And I want to say thank you to all of you for coming. I just really appreciate family and friends from over the years. And special thank you to David and Sarah for helping to organise it all. It's just lovely. I hope you can stay on and enjoy the cake and chat with some new people and maybe find out some more stories about Maureen, but they'll all be good, so I don't know. You can ask me. I don't know about I know some, but she won't tell you. Thank you very much.
Finish there.
If everyone wants to just stand here, I'm going to get a photo of everybody to record their attendance.
Just press the